Hi. Um, this week's presentation is on Jefferson and what his legacy to America and the world is. I think he best said it himself with what he wanted on his tombstone. He wanted to be remembered for the Virginia Religious Freedom Act. He wanted to be known as a signer of the Declaration of Independence and the founder of the University of Virginia. He was a very diverse man, and I feel like the greatest thing that he left us was his contributions to our First Amendment right to religious freedom. However, in the last 200 years, Supreme Court justices have interpreted that to mean something that is far from what Jefferson himself intended. The metaphor of the wall, the impenetrable wall between church and state, was not what he intended when he wrote the letter that he wrote. They have since determined that there can be no religious expression at all. That's the way I see it. And I see it as a fundamental attack, almost a coordinated attack on Christianity. That's just how I view it. I think his greatest legacy, however, was the fact that he believed in education. He was a man of many talents. He enjoyed architecture, he enjoyed farming, he enjoyed reading. You could really call him a Renaissance man. When he died, he left most of his library to the University of Virginia. That was after giving them most of his library when he founded the university. I personally like him as the gentleman farmer. I have used his growing methods for the last 25 years in my own garden, experimenting like he did with what works in the climate that I live in, with the soil that I have, using a lot of the notes that he kept in his gardening and his farming journals. I like to think of him as one of the great innovators of the type of gardening that he practiced. I think that he has been greatly maligned in some of the documentaries that have been done. I'm not a huge Ken Burns fan. I think he did a huge discredit to Jefferson with how he showed him to the rest of the world in his film. He left out a lot of the important things, and I believe that his greatest legacy is his commitment to freedom and what he was willing to do to make sure that that happened. I think as historians, and I have said this before, we have to be very careful not to place 21st century notions onto a man who lived in the 18th century. That's not fair to him, and it's not fair to us. And I think that's what's happened over the years is historians, scholars, filmmakers, writers, they try to put Jefferson into the box that they think he should be in, and that's just not the way it should have been. He's one of the people that I would like to have met had he lived, or I had lived during his time. I think he would have been fascinating to talk to. And so I think he left several legacies, and you really can't pinpoint one. Thank you.